I know you're listening. You're here because something isn't right. Something feels twisted, upside down. Things don't add up. Hello, human. Welcome to our twisted universe. In this episode, we go on the hunt for the legendary man of the forest, Sasquatch. Join us as we talk about the adventures and encounters of our special guest, Sasquatch hunter Dana Johnson, with your hosts, Joe and Christy. Hello, human.
Hi, and welcome to our Twisted Universe. Today we're going to be talking to Dana Johnson, and she's a researcher looking up things like fairies and Bigfoot. Hi, Dana. How are you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Good, good. We're so excited today. We met you on our Facebook page. You're one of our viewers, and we were chatting a little bit, and you said that you had some experiences going out and hunting Bigfoot.
Yeah. I just had I had an experience when I was younger, and it just kind of made me want to pursue it, just to kind of find answers and try and figure it out, and what are they and where do they come from and why do, just questions like that just have me intrigued, and I just want to know.
Well, what
So
happened?
I've been on the things. Well, we were walking along a path, me and my friends, and the path kind of went and kind of curved, and we were walking along, and we all had started smelling something that was just terrible. We couldn't figure out what it was. It stunk. Thought it was maybe a skunk or dead animal. We didn't know, and they were kind of talking, and they were going down the path, and the path turned, and they went down, and I stepped back because I heard something in the woods. So I kind of hung back and looked, and I saw, a Bigfoot just kind of step out, kind of show its face, and just kind of disappear right back into the woods. And I went running, screaming. But yeah, that was when I was quite a bit younger, and I've had some other experiences. And
How big was it, you think?
oh, it was big. Well, it was kind of weird because when it looked out, I just froze.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was just weird because they say they have that ability, but it just like froze me right there. But like I said, I was a ways away. I would say probably 8 feet tall.
8 feet.
Yeah, but there's been more sightings around here, and they say they're smaller than that, some of the other encounters. So I don't know if it would be like maybe a juvenile, but they've done research where they're bigger out west and smaller when you come into the Midwest for some reason, sizes,
Yeah.
I've heard.
Wonder if it's the forage, like the food in the woods or whatever they're eating.
Yeah, well, it's kind of weird because there's a lot of sightings along like where wild blueberries grow, and
That's where I'd be.
like different. Yeah. And then there's been some research now where, the big power lines that go through like the wilderness, there's the big, huge, but they cut right through like the wilderness, like there's nobody around. And what it seems to be, they're finding is that they're using them as like.
So I'm going to tell you what I think about Bigfoot, and I don't know anything because he's more of a geek than I am for Bigfoot. I feel like Bigfoot are interdimensional beings that can come into this reality and leave this reality. And I think they're intelligent, like an alien species, more than like, a bear or a fox or something. I don't think they're so much an animal, but possibly like a highly developed race that have the ability to phase in and phase out. Can't tell you why I believe that exactly. It's just all the collective Bigfoot information that I've gathered. That's kind of what I think they are. I don't know what your thoughts are.
I kind of agree because they're hard to track. They're there, and then
They disappear.
but there's no trace. It's like they phase out as they're walking away.
I I've been doing a lot of research into the Nephilim, so I think that maybe they could be maybe Nephilim, giant. Um, so that would explain a lot of like their abilities, because I mean, you know, you'll know something's there. Like we were out in the forest and we knew something was there because there was a stand of trees and they were all moving, but there was nothing there. But we knew there was something there because the trees were moving, and then they ended up they brought out their equipment that did the audio, and they picked up some pretty strange audio there too. So they obviously, you know, disappear. I mean, I think they're interdimensional as well. And then there's been like orbs. You know, they say they see orbs around them. I've experienced orbs in the woods too that I can't identify. Yeah. So I think they definitely could be.
So you think orbs are connected to the Bigfoot? Because I've also heard something similar.
Yeah, well, like I said, I've seen like orbs in the forest that I can't explain, along with like, strange calls, this weird stuff. And I've been, watch a lot of shows and follow as much stuff as I can on it. And there has been links. Yeah.
So you went out on an actual like hunt or investigation. Where was that located?
We were up by Bena, Minnesota, way up north. We were in like Bemidji area. I don't know if you were familiar with it, but we were out in the middle of nowhere. We were like 6 miles out in the middle of this huge forest. It was just the beginning of December, so it was cold. We were out there investigating for 2 days, didn't see another person. So we knew we were out there alone. Um, and there had been a lot of sightings, and we went in like 90 days after an original sighting. We and set up all the equipment and went out. And yeah, it was cool. And then I got a couple whoops, so that was exciting. And we found a tree structure that was really interesting.
Oh,
And then
was,
some like,
when you say tree structure, what do you mean?
well, you find like these tree structures, basically, like they almost look like teepees or structures, but when you go up and look at them, they look like they all fell in on each other, but when you look, they're not connected to the ground, so they're not
Like they
the
were.
tree will be like that. Yeah, but the roots aren't there, so they're weird. I mean, they're strange. They say that they use it to mark like territories. And my brother too, when he had an encounter on his property, and he had a tree branch like 8 feet up snapped off, and it was about that big around, and it was just snapped off.
Hmm.
So and where he lives is at the edge of a big, huge forest, and it would have been, something that they would have marked. So yeah, they there's been a lot of research on it.
I haven't heard about it. That's interesting. Did you happen to get any pictures?
Yeah, yeah, I do. Um, I do.
I
Yeah,
would,
I have a few.
Yeah.
you'll have
I
to,
think those are gonna be, well, we have a YouTube of it. I sent the link to you. I think that the tree structures and stuff are on that link, I believe, on the YouTube pictures.
I'm
Yeah.
sure everybody would want to
Yeah,
see.
they were cool.
What else did you
Yeah,
experience when you were out there? Like what happened?
uh well, like a lot of the audio came on at night when, nobody was there. So that was the most interesting thing for me. We went into the first location the next morning, and we were, investigating, going in, looking for trails, trying to get down by the water, making quite a ruckus because yeah. And as we were pulling out to go to the next location, I jumped in one of the cars, and as we were pulling out, we heard a couple of really loud whoops. Well, I thought it was the people in the car ahead of me goofing around, but when we got up to the next site, they're like, no, nobody did that. So I'm like, huh. So then the very next one, we went up, I don't know, maybe a mile or two up the road, the path, and that's when we came across the structure. And I'm like, oh, that's really interesting too. Um, in what they call the Cedar Marsh, which is something I wanted to go investigate, and it turns out we were right in the middle of it. So I'm like, oh, this is awesome. And then we got done with that, and we drove down to the boat landing area, and it happened to be frozen over, so I could get out on the lake, so we could get out onto it. In the summertime, you ain't getting anywhere near there, with the vegetation and everything. So everybody kind of went out on the ice. I tested out the ice, and I saw a coyote track, so I know that research that they travel with coyotes. So I started going down that path, and I came around the corner, and there was the print. It was
Oh,
fresh. And so I didn't see, but it was the ground was marshy, and so I only found the one print where I was at, but then there was like vegetation and other tracks too, a lot of coyote tracks. They had pulled like wolf tracks and bear tracks too up there on the expedition. So there's some big animals out there. So
how big?
I wanted to go up the game trail that it disappeared into, but we ended up having to leave. We were like running out of time for the day. So yeah, but we were gonna go check out another location where he thought there might be some activity.
How big are the tracks? Are they like,
Well, I mean, the one I had was basically about the size of almost $2 bills high. So I didn't get a measurement. Like I said, I wasn't I was just out there kind of, I didn't have any equipment. We couldn't, I mean, it was in the snow, so you can't really do a whole lot with that. But yeah, we photographed it, and, yeah, and they're doing way more investigations. Russ, Victoria, who we worked with, he has a cabin out there in the forest now, so he is up there all the time. He's always on the lookout. He has done some amazing research. Yeah, definitely.
so what was the name of that group that you went with?
Search for Sasquatch,
Oh, okay.
and they have another. They also do paranormal search for spirits. They're amazing. They're amazing. Yeah, they do some really good work.
We'll have to check that out for our viewers. I'm sure they're gonna take a look. So while
Yeah.
you're with these researchers, what did they tell you about Bigfoot? What did they discovered that was probably not well-known information?
Um, like how they disappear. Like he has this. I had another experience when I was older, and I was out in the forest, and it was not a very good experience, and I ended up screaming, and something came flying through the woods, and I never saw it, but who I was with, it scared them so bad we got the heck out of there. But stuff like that, where they're there, you can feel them, you can feel them watching you, but you can't see them, but you can hear them walk by, or you can see the trees move, but there's nothing there. So that's what's really fascinating me, is how they can disappear like that. So that's kind of what I'm trying to figure out.
Do you always like smell them, or is it just the one time that it was stinky?
Well, it was the one time, but the second one, it was in the middle of winter, so they, probably wouldn't have been as stinky, shall we say. But yeah, it was awful. It was awful. It was like wet dog, like, oh, I don't even know.
I don't know if I don't pay too much attention to all that. Have you heard they smell?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in Florida, they call them skunk apes. So
Oh, funny.
yeah,
I've heard it's pretty foul.
yeah, it's not pleasant. No.
That's hilarious.
Atomic BO.
Oh, wow. That's fun.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I had an experience where there was a few times when I've been out camping when I was a kid, we'd go tent camping, and
Mhm.
I was a kid, so any noise was terrifying. But I remember waking up in the wee hours of the morning, and the moon was out, so there were shadows on my tent, and I saw a large shadow move across my tent, and I heard the thud of footprints. I mean, it could have been a deer. I have no idea. I was tucked deep inside my
Well,
sleep
yeah,
point.
yeah.
I was like 10 years old, and just heavy footfalls outside my tent. And at one point, it bumped one of the guy lines on my tent, shook the tent as it, like snagged on it as it walked by. And then I think they jumped when it did that, and I freaked out, and
Yeah, yeah.
then it just took off and it went away. But I still I wonder to this day, what was that outside my tent?
Yeah.
This was
Well,
I.
you never know. Like now, you just with all the different stuff, it's I wasn't too scared, and then I started going over like the audio, and I'm like, well, what are they talking about a werewolf? Like what? And it's like,
What did you hear? And it was just out in the middle of the woods?
well, they put their recorders out there, their audio, like what they'll take when they go ghost hunting, and they just set them out just to hear what was coming up. And some of the stuff I was just like, well, now I'm a little bit scared. Maybe I won't do solos now. So
I'll drop the
yeah,
link
it
to
was
the video in
creepy.
the description.
What was it saying?
Oh, it said something about a werewolf being in the ravine, and is it dead? And something like, why did you seek us out? Um yeah, it was weird. We got in there for the night. We got all our gear on, and we were just on this long road going both ways with flashlights, and then they had the van set up with all their equipment. And I kind of walked down the one road, and I thought, well, maybe there was a property or like somebody up there, maybe a house or something, a campground. I'd never been out there because I swear I heard people talking, um, like chirping. It was really strange. So then one of the other gentlemen on the pat came up, and I'm like, do people live down here or what is this? And they ended up getting it on the audio. But yeah, I thought there was people. I thought that there was maybe a campsite up there, maybe there were people out there, but there wasn't. So I still to this day don't really know what that was. But they say they make all sorts of different, noises like whistles and um yeah, so I don't know, like it's bizarre.
Cool.
Yeah, I remember in the video, there was a point where they said something like, "Should we wake them up?"
Yeah, and they
No.
banged on the yeah, they did. They banged on the table outside.
Yeah.
Yeah. It yeah, I don't know. I can't explain it. So that's kind of where I'm at. I want to know.
Like with the paranormal, the ghost investigations, need some cameras, various types, just observing the area, surrounding area.
Yeah, I've been out on a few of those too. That's really interesting too. I pick up on ghosts when they come around. I get what they call the tinglies. I don't know if you have the same.
Oh yeah.
So I've been having that like my whole life. So I just really didn't know what it was. And so when I went out on my first ghost investigation, and they actually had the equipment that would pick it up like everywhere, I'm like, okay. Because everywhere I was getting a reading, it was spiking. So I'm like, okay, cool. So that for me was kind of like validation of like, okay, that.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
yeah.
the SLS camera that it like you point it in a room and it sees the little stick figures if they're
Yep.
there. I wonder, has anyone ever done that looking for Sasquatch?
I don't know. A friend of mine has all the equipment, so I'm
Might want to check
maybe.
that out sometime.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, it was I was watching the Expedition Bigfoot. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but they went in with a LiDAR detector and caught some pretty interesting stuff.
What's that?
It's like a topographical radar. So like the Forest Service uses it to map areas,
Oh,
and it will
okay.
give you a three-dimensional model of the
Yeah.
area.
Yeah, so he
Surroundings.
he had went up there late at night, and he's like, well, I don't need light to do the LiDAR work. He was doing an investigation on some stuff, and when he got up there, they were having some paranormal, some noises and stuff, and he actually caught it on LiDAR. which was
Oh.
amazing.
Like a figure or
Yeah, it looked like it was like each figure, it almost looked like it was walking through it. And then, yeah, and then they went into another cave and used LiDAR there, and it showed a figure sitting, but there was nobody there on camera. So, you know,
yeah, what is that?
Watch that.
Have you heard all the stories about the missing people in the national forest?
yeah, a little bit. Yeah. I just started looking into that. I thought, well, because I like to go out alone. I go hiking alone all the time, and everybody's like, it's not safe. And I'm like, I'm fine, you know. Now I've been watching stuff, and I'm like, well, maybe I should get a companion.
Always the ones that like split off from the group that get missing.
It's like just like the script of a horror movie.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. They would, yeah. I'd
Yeah.
fit right in. Yeah. Oh, look at that blonde one over there. We'll go grab her.
I've never gone out looking for Bigfoot before. We used to go quite often to a place in Washington called East City Ranch. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
Mm-mm.
But they have UFO sightings like every single night. And we've never not seen something while we're there. There's always tons of stuff in the sky and like weird stuff on the mountain and all that. But so many people have gone there and reported seeing Bigfoot.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
I guess they walk around the ranch and they often leave like apples and things out there for them to take. And it's really dark. It's kind of like, I would say closer to a commune. There's like a camping area, but there's some really rustic accommodations and not a lot of light. And so to get to the outdoor bathroom, you have to walk through trails that are virtually pitch black. I was like, I don't want to see a Bigfoot. I do not want to run into a Bigfoot.
So we're sending out the waves. We're good. We don't need to see you. We're fine. Just don't
eat your apple.
Don't startle us.
I think I would have a
yeah.
The apples
Well,
there. We're over here. Just go eat some apples.
right. Here's some blueberries. Right, yeah.
I know these guys, they have a show called Edge of Wonder. They go to ECETI and they said that they definitely had a Bigfoot experience there too.
Yeah.
Well, I was hearing a lot of buzz that during the eclipse they freak out. So I don't know. I was like, okay, I'll do a research on like during the eclipse, but I didn't end up getting to do it. But yeah, there was a lot of research because the time, like when the time disappear or like when the sun disappears, they like freak out because they don't know what's going on. And I guess they do a lot of crazy stuff out in the woods, like rip up trees and yeah. Yeah, I went and watched some footage on it, but yeah, there's a lot of strange things, shall we say, out there.
You're pretty brave to get out there and go do that. I think I'd be too afraid.
Well, like I said, I thought, well, you know, nothing else. It's a nice walk in the woods. But I kind of feel like you don't find Bigfoot, he finds you. It's kind of how it feels to me, because I know people that have been out there and I myself have had, you know, some weird stuff. So I'm like, huh. And I'm, you know, I wasn't by any means, except for the last time out looking for them. I just, you know, I'm keenly aware. And when I'm out, you know, get the tinglies, if you know what I mean. So, yeah.
Have any of your friends ever had like an upfront and personal contact with a Bigfoot?
Well, I've heard stories. You know, we used to, you know, they used to go party out in the woods, you know. So I heard a lot of different stories, but you know, actually I just got a hold of one of my old high school buddies and I'm like, do you remember where everybody used to go party out there? And he's like, yeah, so he's gonna take me out there one of these weekends because it's been so long, you know. I don't really remember. And this winter I finally found the path that the way into the area I was looking for. So yeah, I just, like I said, I haven't had a whole lot of time to get in there and get everything started, but I do definitely plan on doing an investigation out there either this fall or possibly the beginning of winter. I think it's better when it's colder out, there's not as many bugs and a better view, I think.
That's no fun. So you were talking earlier before we started our interview that you were trying to maybe get a group together in your area.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I've talked to one of the guys on the team, but like I said, I got to do some interviews and some background and just kind of figure out like where a good place to, camp or, all that kind of stuff. And I have been extremely busy, so I'm hoping this fall. I might have to push it off. I got a lot going on this summer, so yeah, I'm just trying to get some interviews and some mapping and coordinates and all that kind of stuff put together.
Something
And
to look
then
forward to.
yeah, and then I have a few more friends that I've just met somebody recently that's really into it, and he's like, yeah, if you want someone to go with, I'm like, all right, let's go. So
Don't be going out into the woods by yourself.
yeah, I'm starting to get to that point now after a few things. So I'm like, yeah, maybe it's not the best idea. Maybe stick to the traveled paths, maybe.
That's awesome. Well, I will definitely post a link to that video that you participated in with the researchers, and we'll leave your contact information should you get your investigation group going in the fall. So if people want to contact you, and you're in Minnesota.
Yep, Monticello, Minnesota.
That's awesome. Well, it's been so fun interviewing.
Yeah.
I mean, getting somebody to come on that is into Bigfoot is almost like finding a Bigfoot. You guys are hard to get. I'm just like,
Well, I'm always willing. I've kind of been doing this kind of stuff solo, so it's really nice to have a community, that actually doesn't look at me like I'm crazy, but
we don't.
I know what I saw, I know what I've experienced, and the evidence is pointing me to them being real. So that's where I'm headed with my next investigation.
I
Yeah.
feel like Bigfoot finds you. It's not the other way around. It
Yeah.
almost feels like that with Bigfoot hunters. They find you. You kind of found us through our channel.
Well, I like when people put stuff up because I like to chime in. I'm, really curious about the whole thing. Yeah. So I like the community is great. We have some expos coming up. So I actually met a few other groups at the last expo. There's a female Bigfooting team from Minnesota. So I was maybe gonna try and get a hold of them this fall and see if they got room for a guest. Yeah, they do a lot of really cool videos and stuff too. So I looked them up and I'm like, I want to go out with them. So they're like, anytime, just give us a call. I'm like, all right.
Well, that's fun.
Yeah. Yeah, there's been just a lot of stuff happening up in Minnesota lately. So yeah, I'm kind of excited.
It's a hot spot, apparently.
Yeah.
It has been.
That's cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We really had a great time talking to you.
Thank you.
I'm sure everybody's going to love to see your videos.
Yeah, this was really fun, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. You guys have a wonderful evening.
Thanks.